start our.
All right, thank you. Let's call the meeting to order. And I'd ask for a moment of silence from Councilman Appel, or if he wants to bring a few words.
Oh gosh, I just promised the mayor I wouldn't do another moment of silence, but we'll let that start next round of meetings. So we'll do another moment of silence now. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Chair, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of July 15th, August 16th, and September 13th being deferred.
So move.
Probably moved and
Second.
probably moved and second. Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Are there any temporary encroachments?
Aye.
Oh, thank you, Councilman Griffin. I got your vote. Thank you. Mr. O'Brien, do we have any temporary encroachments?
No, sir, not at this meeting. We'll have something next week. We've
I
had a
didn't think so,
transition.
but just wanted to check to make sure the agenda I'm looking at is correct.
No, sir, not at this meeting.
All right. Item 1, recommend approval to submit HUD grant for community development block grant, MIT grant application, so forth and so on. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Properly moved. Do we have a
Second.
second? Mr. Fountain, the new improved Matthew Fountain, Mr. Matthew Fountain, all the way from Hawaii?
Oh, no, unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, that was Matthew Altop rather than.
Oh, man, I thought it was you.
We wish on that.
I also have never been to Hawaii at this point, but I agree with Councilman Appel that I have surf spots picked out already if I ever am lucky enough to head there.
We got to make that happen, man. Seriously, you certainly deserve it. Are you going to fill us in on this HUD grant, or someone else will?
No, certainly can, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
So this is the same. It's the next year's application round for the same MIT program that we were successful in the Earhart Street tunnel extension for, the medical district tunnel extension last year. So
Right.
this is the next year's round of funding. This is a mitigation grant, so it's basically from disaster recovery. There's likely one more year of funding after this. So this year we're proposing to start the design and construction work on the east side, and then we look to follow that up with a subsequent application probably next year for a larger scope of construction work in that area. This is where AECOM has been working for the last year roughly and putting together the stormwater model and the survey work. We've been cleaning pipes throughout that basin. Now we're coming up with our recommendations for actual construction improvements to help relieve the flooding out there. We are still pretty early in that process. We're just about finished up with the concept work. So this application is both for design, permitting, and construction. And it would focus on likely the outfall improvements to help get more water basically through Morrison and into the river, which we know we're going to have to do no matter what upstream improvements we do. And then just like similar to Dupont Wappu, we come back with a future phase to do those upstream improvements to bring more water into that outfall.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions of Mr. Fountain on this grant app? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Fountain, I didn't get to touch base, but I know Council Lady Jackson did. Can you give us a little update on the small projects?
Yes, okay. Let me hold on one second.
In case you're off guard on that one, but I know you've mind melded all of this stuff. So.
That's called a slider in baseball.
I do have a nice spreadsheet I can pull up really quick to check on where we are with all this. I just don't want to give you any incorrect information.
Sure.
Off the top of my head.
By the way, what about our River Dogs? Huh? They won a championship last night. That's pretty doggone good.
Yeah. We had a lot of good people come to this town that made it to the big league. Going back, John Candarella, Miguel Delaunay. Help me out here, Mr. Baseball.
You're talking about some of the guys we've had on the River Dogs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, River Dog and before that.
Willie Randolph was here too, council member.
Who?
Willie
Josh
Randolph.
Hamilton,
Willie Randolph, you're right.
Randolph.
and
Alamar.
Larry
Big guy.
Doby.
What's the big guy hitting home runs for the Yankee right now?
Aaron
Aaron
Judge,
Judge.
yes, sir.
Didn't one of the Alomar brothers play for the Rainbows back in the day?
Roberto Alomar
Yeah.
and Josh Hamilton
Oh yeah.
and Luis Severino. He pitches for the Yankees.
Yeah, so see, you really get to see the stars of tomorrow today, right?
Nice.
My cousin Donald Murillo was a River Dog. He pitched at the Citadel and played 2 seasons with the River Dogs.
Wow.
Wow. Well, the other night was the first time I ever screamed "Go Dogs" at a sporting event. So that was pretty wild. I was a little bit of an out of body experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta understand. You probably are never going to say that for the Citadel, Councilmember Appel.
No, I love the Citadel. I just more associated with the Athens team sometimes.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm a big Citadel fan.
Not even when they were playing Clemson earlier in the year, right?
Oh well, I thought you were going to say when they beat the Gamecocks in football last time they played. That was
Well, there is that.
that was rough. Oof.
I am ready, Councilman, Mr. Chairman, whenever you're.
Yeah. They never forget that one. I've been hearing that one for 20 years.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I give you a little segue into entertainment purposes. As we've,
I know we gave him time to find his notes.
I am
Mr.
ready
Fountain,
now.
you're up, Mr. Fountain.
Yeah. Thank you. So let me jump back to the 2020 projects just briefly. The 2020 projects, we had the concept work for the Concord Street pump station retrofit. That work's been completed. We had our selection process for the CMAR design consultant. We have our top ranked firm from that process, and we're currently negotiating scope and fee for starting the design work on that Concord Street pump station upfit. We had the Dowden area drainage evaluation. We've completed that and put together recommendations for the next project to do improvement in that area. I'm sorry, for Dowden, we actually have a plan to do the work, and we just are basically working through a CWS now coordination for some pump station work they're doing in the same area so that we can start our project work. We had the Dupont Wappu drainage design, Councilman Waring. That's one where we're obviously in our actual design and permitting process right now. We're about 50% plans, working through that set of projects. We've actually been doing some discussions with the mayor's office and the Epic Center about some grant opportunities potentially for work we need to do on that parcel to help with flooding in the basin as part of that project. Emerald Forest at Arrowin, that was in Councilman Shealy's district. We installed some drainage improvements to basically relieve ponding on a street. See the Mueller drainage improvement, Councilman Shade's district. We basically worked to do what we could in some backyard drainage systems for improvement, which seems to have made some improvement, certainly for the amount of money that we invested to date. The Pawpaw Street drainage improvement project, we've completed our survey in that, and we've been working for some acquisition of parcels to be able to do some, I'm sorry, backing up my own projects on the wrong ones. Pawpaw Street, we have completed surveying and acquiring that drainage easement and cleaned out that ditch, and there is improvement now for drainage in that section. That's in Councilman Appel's district. I think Councilman Griffin knows the gentleman as well who's dedicated the easement there. Sherwood Forest, Councilman Waring, you're familiar with that project where we did install next to Housing Authority a drainage ditch. It certainly has improved the situation. It in no way has fixed flooding. That's in the Dupont Wappu drainage basin, but it's made a significant improvement in the smaller storms that it's not flooding over and over again, as well as over on, I think it's King Richard to the north.
Well, before you leave that stopped water from coming in people's homes. So I mean, not just bagging up in the yard, in people's houses. So that little small project has made a huge difference for about 6 or 7 homeowners.
Yeah, that one is a great project for the day-to-day flooding, especially. It's
Right.
not the be-all end-all for major flooding.
No.
That's what the Dupont Wappu project is, with millions of dollars of hopeful resource at some point. But that one had I agree, had a really major impact for this, like just flooding every single time that it rains.
Right.
Matt, was that the one behind Mrs. Brown's house?
Yes.
And are you saying when doo-wop projects get done that would help that neighborhood as well?
Yeah. So that's in the areas, and I don't remember which one, but one of the areas 5 through 10, then upstream improvements, that whole watershed, there's no basic outfall for that water to get to. That's part of the reason during really large storms, it still floods, because there's just nowhere for that water to go.
Mm-hmm.
it has to flow all the way under 526, out by Costco, turn the corner, come down under Highway 17, and then out past Orange Grove High School from there. So it's a very long flow path.
Yeah. So, we've got no reports of actual damages inside the homes, with the rains we've had this summer in Sherwood
Not
Farm?
in that neighborhood. No, I think there was one set of homes also, I think, over in Councilman Waring's district, over by the Jewish Community Center, I think, where there were a couple homes that had water either just about inside the house or just inside the house during one of those rain bombs.
Yeah. So that one will be under the other phase 2 project, or
Yes,
no?
that would be under the next phase of Dupont Wappu, not the Raoul Wallenberg, but the
Yeah,
King Richard area and the
Right.
Sherwood area.
Right.
gotcha. All right, thank you. Just trying to keep straight.
Yeah, we had a project on Weems Court, it's Councilman Seeking's district, where we basically restored a short piece of brick arch and did some repair work to tie it into the King Street system and actually have King Street functional now all the way from the Battery up to Weems Court in that area. Let's see, the West Pawnee drainage evaluations, Councilman Shade's district. We completed that evaluation, came up with a couple of project options, including one larger construction project approach, and have that as an option for future drainage funding. The Highland Outfall, this is one that we put together an MOU with the town of James Island to install a new road outfall on Highland on a DOT street, kind of in mixed town city jurisdiction, to avoid some flooding in that area. The town's finished up their design on that, has been working to get a construction contract together to expend those funds. They're managing that project. We're just contributing funding, matching funding. Let's see, Rivers Point Row, believe that was actually, I'm not exactly sure whose district that was off the top of my head. That one's behind a commercial shopping center on a.
It's mine, District 12.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson. I was thinking it was that area of James Island, and that was a really horribly failed piece of concrete pipe that had been just very badly built to begin with. It was structurally failing and creating some major sinkholes along that road, and we went through and cleaned and lined that entire pipe and structurally repaired it. It was another really good project from a safety perspective. And then there was some work on Lord Calvert, which was also Councilman Pell's district, for improving drainage along the road there on a project that had started. That was 2020. 2021, these are more in process than completed, but a few of them have been. Belfast roadside drainage improvements, Councilman Pell's district. That's basically making some improvements on a short cul-de-sac road that has pretty heavy ponding in the road. We've been working with the county Transportation Development Department. They're about to resurface that road to coordinate their resurfacing design with our drainage improvement design. We think we've got a pretty good approach that they think they can get their resurfacing contractor to build. So that should get installed as their resurfacing contract commences over the next roughly year, but hopefully it'll be in one of the earlier rounds of that resurfacing work. There was a Concord Street at Waterfront Park. There's a series of there's a handicap parking space and a series of parallel parking spaces in front of the park there. This is in Councilwoman Del Chapo's district. That contract has been awarded, and the contractor is supposed to be installing that this week. It's supposed to go in last week, but we ended up with some rain and ended up pushing it to this week. So that should be going in. Let's see. Harbor Sun ditch stabilization. It's Councilman Jackson's district. We've got a proposal that we're waiting on from an engineering firm for the design work to stabilize that side of the ditch where it's basically eroding towards someone's property, towards their home, towards their actual structural slab on the home. Savannah Highway sidewalk drainage improvement, that's in Councilman Pell's district. This is a relatively smaller pot of funding on a potential 2-year funding sequence, similar to Harbor Sun actually. We've completed our evaluation of that work, and one of our in-house engineers has been putting together an improvement plan with a vendor for some good short-term options to help relieve some of the worst parts of the flooding out there. Let's see. Sandhurst Conveyance, this is Councilman Shade's district, kind of behind the Ms. Rose's over on KW cafeteria over on San Rittenberg. Some very heavy flooding in that neighborhood. This is one of these slightly larger projects. We've got a also phased out over 2 years, but we've got scope also we're waiting for after our scoping meetings with our design consultant to come back with a H&H model and show what we think the constrictions and improvements are. We're going to follow that up with some cleaning in the short run to try to see what we can do now to help improve some of the flooding. Willow Walk, Rear Yard, Swale, that's also Councilman Jackson's district. We've got a surveyor selected and contracted. We're just waiting for them to have availability to stake out the easement to start that rear yard swale construction, mostly in-house. Devonshire outfall cleaning, that we've got our permits for, have a contract that's been awarded, and they have already started work on kind of a combination, same contractor for Devonshire and Burnsdown's outfall, which is another project I'll mention in a minute. So that one's underway, helping with those, basically the drainage outfalls for those whole neighborhoods. Lake Dodder Dam preliminary engineering, that's in Councilman Shelley's district. That's trying to look at raising the structural integrity of the Lake Dodder Dam. We've been waiting to see a little bit what's going to happen with the county for the Glen McConnell widening, of whether they'll move forward with installing the pipe under the Lake Dodder. That project's supposed to go out to bid for the county side in early October, so we should be able to get started on the Lake Dodder Dam, whether or not the county moves forward with pipe installation by the end of this year. Wellwood Townhome drainage swale, that's in Councilman Appel's district. We've finished, the county actually was willing to do the plat work for us for free on that one, because they're also collaborating with us on a project in that area that's also in Councilman Brady's district. Kind of overlaps the two council districts there. So we're waiting on the Townhome complex to do their HOA meeting and basically come back to us with that dedication so we can construct that swale or contract that swale construction. Let's see, Oak Forest Drive flood retrofit properties, that's Councilman Zachrin's district. There's a couple of different properties where we've basically acquired buyout properties, and now we're going back to retrofit those into rain gardens or urban forest or other approaches. We've got a design consultant we've been working with, doing a little bit of in-house work on these as well, to lay out some approaches and come back to the neighborhood with ideas for what that could look like. Shelley Road flood property retrofit, same basic approach, except over on Shelley Road, which is in the same area as Oak Forest. Shoreham Road flood property retrofit, that's in Councilman Jackson's district. Same thing with the same design consultant, looking at retrofitting that property and building a rain garden, another approach to help relieve flooding. We have 4 properties on Wolk Drive in Councilman Griffin's district, where we're basically 4 different projects to do that same thing, take a series of buyout properties, convert those over. That contract has actually been awarded. That's with a separate design consultant under the Biohabitats Church Creek work. So that one we're hoping to get started on construction around the end of the year, have that one underway as kind of the demonstration project for that type of work. Coral Reef ditch piping, that's in Councilman Brady's district. That one has been awarded for construction, and the contractor made notification to the property owners that they're planning to start either this week or next week on piping in the side yard ditch, basically in that area with an under drain system, similar to what we did about a year and a half ago in Councilman Griffin's district for another rear yard kind of under drain improvement system that worked really well. So we're trying to mimic that again in this district.
Mr. Fountain, before you move on, matter of fact, Councilman Griffin helped me out with this. What's the name of the gentleman that was, I think some of his drainage went through golf?
John Hassel.
Can you, I know that's supposed to be coming up, I think, for next year's budget.
Right.
Where are we on that? Or what's going to be the proposal for that? Do we know?
So that one, there's 2 options on that project. One is acquiring easement, which the downstream property owners have not been supportive of. So I generally recommend against easement condemnation because it tends to get expensive if you don't have supporting property owners. The other option is to build it within the existing easement, which is basically just removing a series of trees between the properties out there and then installing an under drain system. So that's certainly doable. That's probably what the most likely opportunity to propose. And we'll talk to the property owners if the trees are coming down, it's possible they would be willing to widen the easement on their property to avoid losing that rear yard screening between them and their neighbors. I'm not sure which one will be preferable, but we'll do some more outreach about that project as we get ready for next year's submissions.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Burnsdown's outfall cleaning, I mentioned that before. We were talking about Devonshire. That one's also underway. They've been doing some clearing, some work, and some initial excavation already. But that'll continue for at least a few more weeks. And then, I'm sorry, the Dowden area hydraulic improvements, which we talked about briefly last year, which was the design work. This year's is the actual construction work. That's mostly been in coordination with CWS, where they're looking to build a pump station to service some of the SSOs they've been having in Dowden and the neighboring neighborhood as well. Which I'm forgetting.
And I've already gotten some positive feedback from that, Mr. Fallon. I don't know what we've done, but they seem to be, something seemed to improve.
We've done a lot of cleaning, which helps. The project even is really just a much heavier version of cleaning. I mean, it's 6 figures worth of cleaning to realign canals and acquire easements and things, but it makes a big difference in these moderate size rainstorms. Again, when you get to the reason the larger project is necessary is if we get heavy rain during a very high tide, which, knock on wood, we've mostly avoided this year, or if you get very sustained heavy rain, which we've mostly avoided this year. This year has been mostly rain bombs, which causes a lot of problems in the high impervious area neighborhoods like downtown. Some of James Island certainly had some challenges with it, but we haven't had those very long duration high tide rain events that cause those problems in like Church Creek that we see sometimes, or in some of the slightly more resilient neighborhoods from a stormwater perspective. So step by step, it's going the right direction. Those were all the projects in 2020 and 2021, and we'll have another round of projects for consideration in 2022, certainly.
Sure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Fallon. Mr. Mayor.
I just want to give Matt and his team a pat on the back. I mean, you think about that list he just went through, and all we've heard over the last, well, since the time I've been mayor at least, just biting the elephant, taking the elephant one bite at a time, neighborhood by neighborhood, little project by little project, and the capacity not just to work on the big stuff, but to be able to do these smaller ones as well. I think over time is making a difference, and I just want to thank Matt and thank this committee, because y'all had to support this all the way through, and the funding. So good report. Thanks.
I appreciate your support, Mr. Mayor, because it definitely is a team moving in the right direction at the same time. So no push and pulling. Councilman Shayed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Matt, I know we sort of caught you off guard on doing that, but thanks for that very good update. And if you wouldn't mind just sort of sharing, I think the last time we had was a list, sort of like in an Excel spreadsheet kind of format. And if we can just sort of have like a graph showing the progress of some of that stuff, that would help us as well. And the chairman has made this comment several times. We don't blow our horn on this enough to what we're doing, but the more we can share with our constituents in our respective districts to show what's going on with this stuff, just let people know. I mean, it's just a matter of information, getting the word out. This is the progress we're doing. These are things that are in the pipeline. Anything along those lines with information purposes would be beneficial to all of us, I think.
Yep, certainly. Thank you, Councilor Shea. We can do that. It's about 32 projects, which is why it's hard to keep track of all of them mentally for a change. And we can certainly try to get you a cleaned up update. It was on the list for our outreach coordinator, but unfortunately our outreach coordinator resigned this summer to go start at MUSC for a better career opportunity. She's starting up a outreach program for one of their applied sciences group, which is a great opportunity for her, but was unfortunate for us. So we're still looking to rehire that position and kind of get back into doing more of the outreach and the discussion of all the great work that we're doing as a city. I appreciate that. We'll try to get you what we can as soon as we can.
Okay, Councilman Griffin, I thought I saw your hand. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. I just want to also commend Matt and his staff. And, the great thing about that list is that it represents every single one of our districts. Nobody is getting left behind. Every citizen in our community, all around Charleston, whether it be downtown, Daniel Island, James Island, Johns Island, West Ashley, everybody is getting support there. And those small projects, they may not touch, several neighborhoods, but they do touch a lot of different people on many different levels. And I think it's perfect, Mr. Mayor. What you said is, you gotta bite away at it and take it step by step. Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not going to solve this flooding problem in a day. But on that same line of thought, I was hoping that at our next meeting, Mr. Chairman, if we could get this put on the agenda, is to go back through that checklist of items that was presented to us by Weston and Sampson for Church Creek, and just kind of get a gauge on where our thought process is. Whether or not this is a project that we're thinking is going to be coming up in the next couple of years, or even, for example, the pump station, that maybe that isn't the best thing to do. But how does that checklist of 8 items kind of coordinate with the Dutch Dialogue report and also our updated stormwater manual, and what our philosophy is going to be? I would love it if we could do that. And as we it's been a couple of years, I'd just like to know kind of what our thought process is in Church Creek, and whether or not, I need to quit pushing some of those items on there, because maybe they're not the philosophy of where we're going. But I've tried to always kind of go back to those items and say that we're chipping away at them. And I hope maybe we can touch on that. Maybe Matt, after, in the next couple of weeks, maybe you can kind of prepare some of those, thought processes on, and the acquisition of land and some of these other grants that we've gotten, and the FEMA buyouts and all of the good stuff that we've done out there maybe has improved some of the items to where we may not need them. But I would love it if we could kind of circle back around to that checklist and see, whether or not that's still our philosophy or not.
Mr. Fountain, would it be better to have, I don't know, maybe somebody from the engineering firm that studied that to do a presentation, if not at the next meeting, the meeting following? Solutions for Church Creek, because that's, as we all know, that's one that's been around a good while. Is it going to be a pump station? Is it going to be a new canal that's going to be dug and go underneath 61 and out into the Ashley, or some combination thereof?
We could certainly start out with probably an in-house presentation, Mr. Chairman. I don't know. We do have Weston Sampson under contract for the work on the Glen McConnell, basically putting the additional pipes under Glen McConnell from Lake Dodder. They're not really under contract at the moment for any other major West Ashley work other than as a sub-consultant to the biohabitats team, which they are a contractor on. But we can certainly try an in-house presentation first and see if there's any.
That'd be fine. That's kind of what Councilman Griffin was asking for anyway. I just thought it may have been easy the other way. Listen, I think the idea that Councilman Shayade had about a graph, and I'm not going to ask for this report at tomorrow's meeting. I'll refer to it, and I'll ask each council member to circle with you outside the meeting. But it's just such an impressive report, the list of projects that's being done. And these small projects, I'm telling you, if you live in the lucky spot, the lucky low spot, and all of a sudden that problem is alleviated, it's a magnanimous amount of help to people who are in that situation. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and you and your team doing over there. I'm telling you, make us look, we're proud of it. We're just simply proud of it. Any final input on this report or anything from Mr. Fountain? This is your last chance. You're not going to get to do it tomorrow. So. As you can't. Councilman Appel.
Thank you, Chairman Waring. And I'm just going to repeat what's been said. Matt, you do a tremendous job. You, Benji, the whole team. I can tell you the merchants over in the South Windermere Shopping Center have all noticed improvements. I've noticed improvements. We're so excited about these neighborhood-wide outfall basin clearing projects, burns downs. We're going to be going up to Devonshire and what I call the farm field neighborhood next. I mean, these really are huge bang for the buck projects, very efficient. And it's really cool to see that hydro excavation work going on in the marshes. I mean, they're literally digging out channels into the marshes to help the water flow out better when the tide goes out. It really is special. It's not the most sexy thing in the world for sure, but it really does make improvements in people's lives, and it's very, very much appreciated. So keep up the great work.
I wouldn't mind seeing some of that myself. I've heard about it. I've never seen it. So when you got that piece of equipment out there, let me know. I'm only 10 minutes away. I can scoot over there and take a look.
Yeah, maybe we can get out there, put some boots on, and go in the marsh.
Get muddy in the. Hey, listen, I got a 4-wheeler, man. So I
Oh, now we're talking. We might need a permit for that, Matt. What do you think?
You're right. All right, it's been a great report. I want to thank Council Lady Jackson for some of her questions because we all heard answers well above and beyond as a result of those her questions. So thanks again. And you know what? We got some extra time. Maybe Councilmember Pell, Shade, Griffith, Jackson, maybe find a revenue producing opportunity before 5 o'clock. By acclamation, we stand adjourned.